Welcome to the Once Upon an Island podcast, number 2 on the charts, number 1 in your hearts. I'm your host, Wesley, and today I am joined by my sassy co-host,
Madison.
And today we're talking about the final 5 of Survivor 48. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? And is it possible that it's not Joe? Because there's a lot of theories out there, Madison. And you have not been on this podcast since the merge. As we discussed last week here on the podcast, Mary and I have 3 foster children at the moment. So you coming in and stepping in for Mary is a welcome relief, as Mary right now is literally cuddling the baby and feeding her formula. I just was in there, so.
Happy to help.
Yeah, that's what's happening. Yes, thank you, Madison, for joining us. Madison.
Wesley.
What have you thought about Survivor 48 since the merge?
Yeah, so I will say post-merge, minus this most recent episode, I feel like the entertainment for me went down a bit. I hate to tell you that you're right about something, because as we've established, I don't like to do that frequently, but losing David really was painful in terms of entertainment for me. So I do appreciate his stand-up for Mary. It was really awkward and uncomfortable, but also wonderful at the same time. So I just think post-merge has been so much of people saying, we need to get out Joe, we need to get out Joe and Eva, and then no one doing it. So I would love to say that I enjoy that, but I think that can make for somewhat of a boring winner. No hate to Joe, but if it's Joe anyways. But yeah, I don't know. Post-merge hasn't been my favorite. I can't lie.
As I said to Rebecca yesterday, if I was 100% certain it was Joe, I would have made his thumbnail for his winter video weeks ago. But I have not done that. I did it for Rachel. I did it for Kenzie. I did it for Dee. I did it for Jam Jam. Gabler, didn't even know it was him.
I was about to say.
Marianne, I did. But yeah, no, in this case, this is the most like, I don't know who's winning since Gabler's season, when I thought Jesse was going to win or Carla, and I was clearly wrong.
You know what's interesting, though? But the whole mat theory of who talks on the mat at the first episode, why is it Mitch? Is Mitch winning? Is he the new Gabler?
Well, the mat theory's been dead since season 45.
But could it be back?
Could it be
for Mitch?
Revitalized for Mitch? Hey, we're going to talk through everybody alphabetically, but yes, I agree with you that David, when he was flexing and talking about Notting Hill, I felt some things, okay?
I thought of both you and David the other day when I had a friend over who said, let's watch a movie, and she suggested Notting Hill. So,
hey, she could be a friend too.
I'm saying, but you know what?
That's a great movie.
That's not what we watched. So.
It's a great movie. She has good taste, whoever that friend is.
Does.
So I want to point out for those watching here on YouTube that the chart in the top right-hand corner shows how many times people have talked to the camera. It is important, though it is not important the number necessarily as much as the quality of a confessional. Because I had somebody the other day say, why do you guys care about the number so much? It's not really the number as often as it is the quality, but the number is a factor, and it would be silly to not talk about it at all. We're also going to talk about any remaining advantages, because I was incorrect. I thought Eva was supposed to use her idol last night, like that was the last chance, and I was wrong. Apparently it's good through Final 5, so that's good to know. And if you want to listen to these podcasts early and ad-free, like the day we record them, check us out on Patreon, link in the description, because they go up a day later on YouTube and 2 days later on Spotify. But you can get them early with no ads on Patreon. So we appreciate your guys' patronage and supporting us. So, Madison.
Wesley.
You ready to do this thing?
Heck yeah, I am.
All right, our first player is Eva. Eva, part of the Eva-Joe duo, has 65 confessionals sitting on an idol, which means in theory, in my opinion, Eva's golden through the next vote. Like, she cannot be voted off. So Eva's only opportunity to go out of this game and not reach Final 3 is at fire. What do you think about Eva?
Well, I think with Eva, you say all of that, but I'm not convinced she'll play her idol next. I think Eva's very, very comfortable where she's at, and she's vocally comfortable. And when, as I said earlier, everyone else is talking about making a move and not making a move, I don't know. If they finally decide to make a move, they could get her. However, that being said, with the trajectory of the current season, no one will make a move. She will make it. And I agree with you. Fire is where she would go out. I would love to see her versus Joe and take Joe out in Fire just for fun.
No.
I'm just here for chaos.
I know. I can sense that now. Chaos is Mitch winning.
Mitch was on the mat.
Despite Eva getting like 13 confessionals in episode 11, 16 in episode 9, as everyone can see here on this chart, it is insane how it feels like Eva's really become quiet despite a lot of her talking last week, though, is because she went on that journey, and a journey like guarantees you 10 confessionals so that you can explain the journey and your thought process of the journey and the journey, you know? So she has talked every episode. We have heard her thoughts, but it feels like a lot of her, in my opinion, positive story content came in the first half of the season, and second half season's been more neutral, maybe even negative sometimes.
I would lean towards negative after this last episode because they really focused on the fact that she could not get through the beginning of that challenge. She definitely made a comeback, but I mean, did they have to focus so hard on how many times she hit it? And I noticed, I don't know if you noticed, but anytime they were showing someone else, they always made sure to show Eva in the background just throwing her bag straight up into the air and chasing it around. So to me, that was kind of some negative press there for Eva.
Also, I know it's been mentioned. I know Shaheen mentioned it. Because we'll never know if he was correct. He said he could have beaten Joe in the final 3. So that will never be confirmed or denied, basically. You know, we'll never be able to learn the truth. But he did say that there's no way Eva wins. And if he's going to the jury with that thought, the other people, it's likely that other people believe the same thing. And I, at the moment, completely see Eva as a potential final 3 GOAT.
I could see that too. I do have to say on the Shaheen note, public apology for consistently putting you in 11th place, Shaheen. I'm sorry that I slept on your potential. This is my public apology. I really started to enjoy Shaheen since the last podcast that I saw you. But I'm with him, though. I think he called Eva a Joe stan if she were to go to the jury.
So it's almost like worrying to put her on the jury because of that.
Right. But at the same time, I can see it both ways. I know I'm kind of bleeding into Joe here, but I could see Eva being a Joe stan in the final 3 and vice versa. I don't really know how that will necessarily go.
I don't know that would be quite unusual. Not impossible, but quite unusual to have somebody in the final 3 sitting there advocating for you to vote for somebody else who's sitting next to them.
I think it would be unintentional, though. I think it would be so teamwork focused that there's no individual highlight.
And they'd be like, okay, Eva, what did you do? And it was like, you're saying it would be mostly Joe.
Here's what we did.
Yeah. But it's like,
and then
Joe
the jury's going to know it's Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll get to Joe here soon. I think what is Eva's best final 3 combination? What is her ideal final 3 combination? In my mind, Mitch. For everyone, it's Mitch. Mitch has to be in everyone's final 3. Like, not has to be, but...
Well, I agree.
Everyone could beat Mitch, in my opinion. So Mitch, but then it's like, can she beat Kamilla? Can she beat Kyle? I don't think she could beat Joe. Like, they're too connected, and I feel like Joe's the leader of the two of them, for better or for worse. It's like, so could she beat Kyle or Kamilla? I don't know.
I don't think there is a final 3 that Eva can win in. And I almost said Joe. Jeff has already said that there will be fire making, so we continue to not have a final 2. I don't think there is a combo she wins in. I think Kamilla could be convincing enough, and I think Kyle, depending on when he goes to Ponderosa, I mean, he could advocate for her, for the jury.
You're saying if Kyle doesn't make final 3, he could be convincing.
Correct.
He would be advocating for Kamilla. Yeah, and of course, one of them, Kyle or Kamilla going to final 3, in theory, should reveal their secret alliance. I don't know if that's a deal they've made to be like, hey, don't say a word till we get to final tribal.
Or will they pull a Shaheen where apparently something happened and we, the viewer, literally never saw it?
Right. I mean, they talk about, we're talking about different people, but let's focus on Eva here. Eva, to me, just feels like her and Mitch, I just don't see a path for them winning necessarily. Yeah. But I feel like
I could see her getting a vote.
Eva has more of a path than Mitch. So for her, I give her number 4 out of my 5.
And for once, Wesley, we agree on something. I have her as number 4.
I think we're going to be agreeing a lot tonight.
Yeah, you referred to me as someone who likes to throw out wild cards. I'm not sure I'm going to have any this episode.
I'm glad that by the end of the season you saw it my way. That's usually how it works. And then the new season starts and everyone gaslights me into thinking something different. And then, a whole process starts over every season. It's a tale as old as this channel at this point.
But you know what? For me as resident JV player, I get to learn and grow into varsity.
You're not JV. You're on this podcast by yourself. You're varsity.
By myself. Oh, true. Yeah. With just you.
Yeah.
I was about to say.
Mary's
don't put me on here alone.
Mary's not here to support you.
I think I would change how I rank things moving forward because it is much easier to look at just the final 3 than what the heck I was doing, which was, let me just try and place you right now when there's 16 of you left. So JV players growing.
Yeah, when you get early on, it's more like, okay, who do I feel good about going deep less so than, all right, who's going to win the jury? Like, you don't even know who's on the jury. So it's more like, who is the story setting up to go deep at the moment? Is like really how you try to rank it early on. Then you get to the merge and you start seeing really how things pan out. Yeah.
I do think my top 6 consistently tracked with that, though. So proud of that.
That's good. Well, Eva number 4 for both of us. I don't think there's too much to talk about with Eva. I just don't see what her path is next week to win. I anticipate she loses in the final 3. Or goes out in fire, because I know you said that she might not play her idol, but that would be completely idiotic.
I just think she's too comfortable. I'm excited to see which one she does. I think it could go either way, but she's just too vocally and publicly comfortable for me to expect that.
All right, well, let's move on. Our next player is Joe. Joe is actually, believe it or not, has less confessionals than Eva. He has 55, though he got 12 last night. And he has the all-important zero confessional episode, which was episode 5, which in the past I've said is a death knell, whatever. And if Joe loses this season, then I should have listened to myself. What else is new, I guess? I should have, because he had 0 confessionals. Now, Joe, I feel like, is in the best position. I feel like there's so much of the show is consistently backing him up, making you want to root for him. It almost feels like when Joe does something, the show puts an extra effort to edit it in a way that is interesting. Whereas when, in my opinion, when Kyle or Kamilla do a move, it's like they do the bare minimum to tell the story of the move that they made. Especially last night with the previous episode. But we'll go ahead and tell me your opinion of Joe, and I'll get more into the details on what I think about in regards to the editing style.
Yeah, well, with Joe, in my opinion, which I think is the mass opinion right now, it's really his game to lose. And I think what you said earlier is still true, that sure, he might have fewer confessionals, but if you look at the focus and the content quality of what he's got, last night's episode was about Joe. It was about Joe, and I do value the story that he shared about his sister, and I think that's very honorable that he's here to do that. And he's been wearing that bracelet this whole semester, which I think, draws attention to his sister.
It's not a semester.
Yeah. Yeah. And so with that, though, I mean, he's got 4 individual immunities. He's been on the right side of the vote almost every single time. I think there was just once where he wasn't on the right side of the vote.
I'll double check that as you're talking. Yeah.
I think it's 7 out of 8 times, if I'm remembering correctly. Well, I don't remember which one was wrong.
He missed on the Thomas vote. That was the only pre-merge vote he was a part of, believe it or not, was when Thomas went. He was wrong.
So then post-merge, he's gotten it.
He got Say, he got Chrissy, David, Starr, Mary, Shaheen. Yeah, he's been right outside of that Thomas vote.
Yeah, he's gotten it all. I think, if something were to take him down, it would be himself, honestly, because he gets a little paranoid, a little freaked out when things happen, which, as we saw, Kyle and Kamilla did utilize that to do something about Shaheen, but I think it's his game to lose. I think any scenario where he's in the final 3, he wins. I think Kyle could give him a run for his money, but I'm not 100% convinced Kyle could do it.
That's the thing, is I do think it's a two-way battle here, a 1v1 of Joe versus Kyle. Like, both of them need to go out, in my opinion, for Kamilla, Eva, or Mitch to have a chance in the final 3. But the 100%. Thing with Joe is, when I mean with editing styles, you look at last night's episode, it feels like the perfect example. Kyle does like this epic move, like this, what I call the Wish version of Operation Italy, because whereas Operation Italy in 47 was given a lot of gusto, they put a lot of effort into editing it to be fun, like an Ocean's 11 kind of moment when they did the whole move just to get out Caroline, whatever her name was in 47. Like,
I think it was Caroline.
Exactly. But they put a lot of effort into it because they really like Andy, they really like Genevieve, and they like Sam. Like, the show is very clear they like these people. They wanted you to root for them. They wanted you to root for this move. And while I was going for Rachel and it failed, well, it got out Carolyn, or Caroline. I feel like it's Caroline. Sweet Caroline, yeah. So it's that. That's how I remember that. So, but here we get basically the Temu version of Operation Italy, and there's no gusto. There's nothing. The show just kind of just tells it as it happens. And in my opinion, they put so much effort in Joe. We go to the reward challenge, and we get letters from home. Shaheen references his mother, though he's not one of our winner contenders, so it doesn't really matter how much focus he got. But he got some focus because he's like, I won this reward for her, and then I got the letter for her. But then Joe's like, letter for my son. It's super emotional, sad music, everything. Kyle kind of a little taken aback that his dad's saying things in a letter that he's never said before. But then it goes right back to Joe. It's like, no, it can't hang on Kyle for too long.
Immediately.
Go right back to Joe. Joe's like, oh, also my sister got murdered by her husband, boyfriend, whatever, partner. I don't know if he clarified who his sister was with. So it could have been girlfriend or wife. Who knows? It is 2025. Point being is that it was so focused on Joe. And then later on, we get this entire scene focused on Joe talking to his sister up in heaven and like having closure. And it's a lot. It's a lot of Joe. And if Joe doesn't win, it makes me wonder why they put so much work into Joe and his story and make you want to root for him. And in essence, kind of hurt the winner's story because of that. Like they put so much work into Joe. It's like, why didn't they put this much work into the winner story, or at least put equal effort into the winner story? Because no one else here, in my opinion, has had equal amount of work put into their story as Joe. It's almost like the show is rooting for Joe.
Can't you say kind of the same thing though about Jesse? Was he season 43? Jesse and Cody? Jesse got a lot of focus.
Is a great example. Jesse, here's the difference between Jesse and Joe, in my opinion. Jesse was not super emotional. Jesse also he did have flaws in his story. And that's the thing. Joe is not running a perfect game here. Like, it is clear as day. We have seen David get ticked. We've seen Mary say he's doing bad jury management. We have seen him and Shaheen kind of butt heads a couple of times this episode and last episode. But I feel like Shaheen, by the way, would move on and be fine come a final tribal council. I don't count him as vote. No, I think he's voting for Joe, is what I'm saying. I feel like despite their little tiff they had here at the end, really, so he has two people who I'm like, I don't think these people are voting for Joe. But you don't need everyone's vote. You only need, what, 4 or 5 votes on the jury, depending on how the jury splits. You don't need all 8. Like, it's not required. You need 4 to 5, depending on how the split goes. So Joe has flaws, but it just seems like so much work and effort is put into Joe all the time, to the point where it's like, it's not Russell Hantz levels, because Russell Hantz literally dominated every aspect excessively. But it does feel like for every time Joe's on screen, it's like they're putting extra effort into making you want to root for Joe. Maybe seeing Joe's flaws in his game, but just so much work, and it's baffling. If he doesn't win, it's baffling.
Yeah.
If he doesn't win, it's baffling. And what you're saying with Jesse is Jesse had flaws. Sorry to interrupt you, but I was trying to kind of connect to what your question was Jesse. Jesse did a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of impressive moves. Jesse played the jury really well. Jesse lost because he lost a fire. Like, Jesse was winning that game. Yeah. It was so clear. Jesse was the fan favorite. Like, but there were flaws in Jesse's story. It wasn't perfect, but in terms of like how he wasn't. But Joe, from the very beginning, we go back to the preview. I went back and watched all the previews for the new era. You can't count 41 because 41 didn't have a preview. So you start at 42 because the 41 obviously wasn't filmed when 40 ended. So you go back to 42. Marianne gets her face shown multiple times and talks. Gabler gets to talk to the camera in the preview. Jam Jam talks to the camera and is the last person to do it in the 44 preview. 45, Dee's face is shown and she talks. 46, Kenzie, again, like Jam Jam's, the last one talked to the camera and is shown talk to the camera. 47, Rachel, if her voice is heard, I didn't know it was her, but her face is clearly shown once or twice. You then go to the 48 preview. Joe opens up the preview with his face and talking. Ends the preview by talking to the camera like Kenzie and Jam Jam. Also, Kyle's face, and you can double check me, whoever is listening to this, but his face is not even shown, let alone getting any sort of professional talk time at all in the entire preview. And I'm not saying the preview's the end all be all, because the show does make it and they put it at the end of their season. But I mean, right from there, they're already telling us how much they love Joe, how important Joe should be. And Kyle doesn't get his face shown, which is wild to me.
That's all really valid.
I had to go back and rewatch because I'm like, okay, usually these give us some hint as to who the important players are going to be, important characters, and the winner's always at least shown. And if Kyle wins and Joe doesn't win, like, again, I feel like they've done Kyle a little dirty. And I know we're not to Kyle yet, but it feels like it's Joe or Kyle's game. And if it's not Joe, to me, it's baffling.
Yeah, I think the only thing, the more I think about the jury, the only thing that I think could really get Joe in trouble is the fact that he's worked so hard on playing such a loyal and honest game, and he just got out his number one ally. I think that may have been Kyle and Kamilla's goal. Yeah, and David, who is apparently still bitter about it, at least looks bitter about it still.
Oh, he was in his post-season interviews.
Yeah, that was felt.
I wonder, okay, so like that's not canon postseason interviews, and I don't factor it into winner analysis,
right.
But I do want to throw out there, like, let's say Madison, well, you would not be salty. Let's say I get voted out of Survivor. Would I still be as salty at someone if they go on to lose the game? Would I be postseason
That's a good point.
Still super salty at them knowing that they lost? Or would I be like, they sucked, but I'm over it? I feel like I would say they suck, but I'm over it. I think that if that person that I hate and got me out of the game went on to win, I would still be super salty about it.
Because you lost to the winner. It's the winner's fault.
Right,
you're not
right.
there.
It's the winner's fault, and they still won. They got rewarded for being wrong. You know what I mean? Like in David's eyes. Because David was right. Kyle and Kamilla are a pair. And he went out and he's like still tweeting about it. How, oh, look, I wonder if only somebody would have told them that Kyle and Kamilla were a pair. And it's like, I don't think David says stuff like that if Joe goes on to lose. And I'm not factoring that into my ranking at all. But I am throwing this out there as like extra supplemental bonus content. Or Madison, what do you think about this?
I think that's really valid. David has seemed bitter, since since his time on the island. I think that's valid. I don't know what I would do myself. I like to think I'm generally forgiving, but I've never played a reality show for $1 million. So I don't know how I would personally act. But if we were to look into David acting that way, I could see it. But I also just think from David's personality, I'm not saying this makes David a bad person at all, but I could also see David just being salty regardless. And maybe he likes that. Maybe that's his MO. Maybe that's how he, gets the social attention now. And
that's why I say it's not canon. Like, I can't sit here and be like, I'm analyzing David postseason. I'm saying, okay, if I'm thinking about a normal person or myself, like, would they be less salty if the person would they be less salty if the person lost? And I think I would be. But if I knew the person wanted to win anyways, despite making, in my opinion, bad moves or wrong moves or whatever, I think I would still be salty at them.
Well, those bad moves still got him to the end and he won, if that's the case. So
and that's what makes David salty. So anyways, I'm not factoring that as much, but I'm just throwing out there because he's like still to this day, the day we're recording this, he's like still like salty so clearly online. But yeah, Joe's number one for me, but I'm not sitting here and saying Joe's winning guaranteed like I have the past few seasons. I'm sitting here saying Joe's winning, but if Kyle wins, I understand. But I think that the show did Kyle dirty if Kyle wins, or Kamilla if Kamilla wins. I don't think the show did them justice the same way they did for Joe.
I would echo all of that. Again, wow, the trend here. I completely agree with you, Wesley.
Because it's like if Joe doesn't win, the show has done the winner dirty, in my opinion. Why does Joe get all this love and affection? Like, why? I don't understand. If he doesn't win. Not
to compare him to Gabler, but it's, to me, that is comparable if Kyle were to win or Kamilla were to win. Gabler took me so by surprise when that happened that I guess I wouldn't be surprised by Kyle or Kamilla because I enjoy both of their games, but they didn't get, I think, the edit that they deserve. And I feel that way about Gabler because his win still feels somewhat confusing to me.
The only way I'm laughing my butt off like I did when Gabler won is if Mitch wins. That's the only result that can make me laugh.
I'm telling you, the Matt. I'm just going to say the Matt.
Dude, if Mitch wins, I'm laughing. I'm going to be like, this whole season was Mitch winning? Like, I'll die laughing before I podcast with Rebecca.
If that happens and you hear your phone ping the moment it's announced that Mitch won, it's just my text saying the Matt.
Yeah, dude. Freaking the Matt chat came back. All right, Joe's number one for both of us, though I know people are going to come here next week and laugh at us if we're wrong, but I'm throwing out there that if Joe, and go for it. I mean, do what you want, I guess. But people like to get a good laugh at our expense, so go for it. But I'm well aware that if Joe doesn't win, it's probably Kyle. But if it's not either of them, then I think most people...
It's Mitch.
Most people will be... if it's Mitch, I don't... If it's Mitch, I don't want to see anybody saying I knew it was Mitch the whole time. Get out of here with that nonsense.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I don't think I've seen that either. All right, let's move on to our next player after Joe. And that is Kamilla, Chamillionaire. Maybe that's the hint, her nickname. Chamillionaire. She has 59 confessionals. Believe it or not, 4 more than Joe. Believe it or not, everyone except for Mitch has more than Joe, which is crazy considering the amount of content he gets. So Kamilla, closely tied with Kyle. Did you know, Madison? I don't know if you knew this big secret, but her and Kyle are in a secret. They're a secret alliance. No,
I did not know that.
I didn't know this.
It wasn't said to me 40 times.
Goodness gracious! If I played any sort of game where I ate or drank anything, I would die. If I ate or drank anything after they said they're in a secret alliance. Like they said it last night, I think 4 or 5 times. If you binge this season, you're dead. You're dead before this episode starts because they say it so often.
That's not a game I want to play.
So it makes me wonder if that's going to be something they're going to drop at Final Tribal. And unlike Sue saying I'm a pilot or Sammy saying he's 19, it's not a joke. Like they really are in a secret alliance and it really has benefited
I was
them.
about to say Sammy.
Yeah. Did you know 19. He's only 19? But like
or
that
I'm
was
22.
a joke. But that
That's
was a joke.
Was.
Dude,
all a joke.
Dude's actually turning like 22 this year, I think.
Oh, so it's the truth now.
Yeah, now it's going to become the truth. I think this is the year it happens. But
that's like those posts where they're like, if you start watching at exactly 11:59, 30 seconds left at midnight, it will be. Yeah. That's what we need to do for Sammy when he turns 22.
All right. Well, anyways, Kamilla, let's focus on her winning. What are your thoughts on Camilla's chances of winning here? What is her path to the end to win?
I think, yeah. So going back in time, Kamilla and Kyle, right? I'm going to somewhat jointly discuss them. She got a very loyal alliance very quickly from the very beginning. I think Kyle has wavered some, Kamilla never has. And that, I think, is a positive thing. The negative thing is that when you have a secret duo, someone always ends up being the sidekick, and it's Kamilla. Her only alliance, I feel like, has been Kyle. And while I think she generally has been the brains of that duo, she doesn't have the ability to pull things off unless Kyle says, yes, I will do it with you. And many times Kyle has not done that. So I think she's got an uphill battle if she gets to the final 3. I think she could be Eva and Mitch if that was the final 3. I think if Kyle is with her, it's going to be a tough sell convincing people that she was the mastermind of things, because I think he's the one who's got the relationship with everyone. So I have liked her from the start. There was a time period, I don't know that she was my number 1, but she was at least my number 2. But I wouldn't do that now because I think she's locked herself in being with Kyle the way she has.
I'm with you. I'm under the impression at the moment that it's always up to what Kyle wants to do when it comes to their moves. And I feel like if both of them reach Final 3, though it was teased in the next time on Survivor that they're going to have to not both be in the Final 3. And I guess it's been teased last week and maybe even this week that only one of them's going to make a Final 3. So I am under the impression only one of them's going to make it. And my impression is that it's going to be Kyle. Now, if Kyle does not reach Final 3, I think everyone and their mother knows who won at that point. Because I don't think Kamilla beats Joe. As much as people want to say that, it's like Camilla's game, in my opinion, is being seen as Kyle's game. Kyle's going to get credit.
I'm in unfortunate agreement.
Stop
and I would
this.
love to see Kamilla win.
Just fortunately agree. Be a fortunate co-host.
Unfortunate. Next podcast, I'll disagree on everything. Don't worry.
All right. Well, yeah, that's right. Because you're going to be doing the New Era winner ranking or New Era rankings with Rebecca and I. That will be up on Patreon much sooner than it'll be on YouTube. Let's put it that way. All right. Yes. Kamilla, my top concern really is that while she has a story, she even has a backstory with pictures, if I recall. It was her, Joe, and Shaheen who all got one, not Kyle. So if you want to talk about like the Matt chat, but like what about the sob story with pictures, you know? I think Rachel's the only New Era winner. Rachel's the only New Era winner to not get that. But then we come to this season, it's like, okay, Joe, Shaheen, and Kamilla all got sob stories with pictures, and Shaheen's out, so it's Kamilla or Joe. If that was the theory, but also Joe got 0 confessionals. You know, it's like, so Kamilla on paper has both. Does not have a 0 confessional episode. Has a sob story. Doesn't have a Matt chat though. If you want to get really into the, as far as I know, I don't know who all had the Matt chat. It was literally the only person left is Mitch who got a Matt chat.
Yeah, I think it was Mitch, Chrissy, and someone else.
What? Chrissy?
Oh, Kevin. Poor Kevin.
Kevin, dude. Kevin. he has so much show for only 2 episodes. That's for sure.
Truly.
Yeah, Kamilla, her ideal final 3 is definitely Mitch and Eva. And I think she wins that. I really do. I think that's the only final 3 I can see her winning, because I can't see her seeing next Kyle winning. I also don't think her and Kyle are making final 3
together.
Oh, also, we should mention this during Joe's section. I would not be surprised if Joe wins the next 2 immunities.
I was about to say I think he has to, but at the same time, I thought he had to win immunity the last however many times, and he always survives. So I retract that.
He did lose one to Kamilla on like what a technicality of a block being turned. But
yes,
so he's won 4.
He took that well, I thought.
He did. He's only won 4. He should have, like, had he paid attention, should have won 5. And then, okay, so he's won 4. He has potential to break the record by winning 6. But even as long as he gets through a final 5 vote, he's making fire. And I don't know what his fire making skills are, top of my head. But I know we're talking about Kamilla.
Have we even seen that?
If we have, it's been unimportant. Because despite the fact that the Flint being taken away is such an important thing in New Era Survivor, it's rarely discussed at camp, and it's rarely shown the effects of it. So I don't know why it's so important for the show to make a point about it when they don't even make a point about it when we go to camp. With the exception, I think, of like
accurate
the Yellow Tribe, Lulu Tribe from 45, because they literally had that one beware advantage that they needed to burn in fire, and they didn't have any fire. And that was like the only time it was relevant.
Oh, Lulu Tribe.
I know. Flipping Lulu. What a disaster of a tribe, a hot dumpster fire. With Kamilla, she really needs Joe to go out, and then she needs.
Yes.
I don't know if she needs Kyle to go out, but she needs Kyle to go out.
It would help her for Kyle to go out. Like I said, I don't know how she differentiates her game in a convincing manner. Mm-hmm.
And if Kyle's on the jury, he would champion her. That's a guaranteed vote for her.
I think so too.
But if Joe's on the jury in this situation, because remember she sent Joe the jury as well, Joe votes for Eva. So it's like that right there is already 1-1. Like Joe is not voting for Mitch or Kamilla. He's voting for Eva, if that's the final 3.
Yeah, I think no matter who is sitting on the final 3, I don't think it's a clean sweep. I don't think it's a all votes on the winner scenario.
Oh yeah, there's no situation where I think we're getting like a 8-0. Second place is getting at least a vote, like worst case, but there's no way we're getting I would be shocked if we get an 8-0 vote. Yeah.
7-1-0. That's what it is. Calling it now.
That was the first 4 New Era seasons too. 7-1-0.
Going back to the beginning of the New Era.
Erica, Marianne, Gabler, and Jam Jam all won 7-1-0. Crazily enough. So Kamilla, I have ranked number 3.
I also have her number 3, but I won't say unfortunately.
All right, let's move on to Kyle. Kyle has, believe it or not, 77 confessionals. The most. 12 more than Eva, 22 more than Joe, 77 confessionals. Has never been skunked. He has no advantages. The only person with advantage left is obviously Eva with her idol. Kyle, to me, is the potential he wins, and it's not going to feel satisfying to the general audience if he does, but it will make sense why he did. Like, he is so prominent all the time. But as I said when we talked during the Joe section, it feels like the show is putting so much love and effort into Joe's story and Joe's edit that it's almost to the detriment. Despite Kyle getting so much content, it doesn't feel like there's as much love behind it, I guess. It feels almost like workman-like, if that makes sense. Like Kyle's a workman, like he's down in the coal mines working, but Joe's like the actor on stage getting all the glamour. I don't know if that works as an analogy.
I get what you're going for.
Okay, no, I got it. Here we go. Kyle is working the boom mic on set, and Joe is the actor. There we go. Kyle's like the unsung hero.
Kyle's
doing
having
all this
to
work.
gaff.
Yeah, Kyle's gaffing. Kyle's doing lighting. Kyle's on the film set doing all like the work that makes the actor look good, but the actor's like looking good. Just like Kyle. Like if Joe loses, it's because Kyle won. That's it for me with Kyle. Kyle wins if Joe loses.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I think if we get down to it, I would be curious to know a stat on this, but how many of his confessionals are him saying, it's time for me to make a move. I've got to go for Joe. I've got to play with my head now.
I feel like that's half of Mitch's.
Yeah, no, it's probably 2/3 of Mitch's, but I think that's a lot of Kyle's content, though, is saying, like, I need to make a move, but it's hard to make a move. And I get that it's an emotional game. I think he's... in this exact moment, in my opinion, he's reminding me a little bit of Genevieve, although Genevieve's angle was different, right? Because she was talking through becoming a villain and how that made her feel, whereas...
she evolved from being a villain to being a hero.
Yeah, and a human in the midst of it, you know. Kyle has never been a villain, but he was ready to be a Judas, as you like to call him, and when the time came... He was, but not to Joe. The all-powerful Joe. He was not.
No, not to Joe. God forbid. Remember that one time Kyle went to jail and he told Joe about it? That was it. Joe knows too much. He can't go anywhere. Joe has to stay in the game. I'm confident that there's more to that story that was not shown, but yes. Oh, I'm sure there's way more to the reasoning and story than what we were shown. But I'm saying that's the way it was presented.
As always, we're going back to Joe here, but Joe's ability to connect, I mean, he has pulled Kyle in. So Kyle has waited too long. And to your point of if he wins, it's not satisfying. It's because Joe should have been gone a long time ago. If Joe goes out at fire, like Jesse, like we've talked about, if Joe goes out at fire, it's not satisfying for Kyle to win. Kyle had the brains the whole time. He just didn't have the ability.
Right. Unless Kyle beats him at fire. If Kyle beats him at fire, then okay.
I would take that.
That would be Kyle. I feel like needs to directly beat Joe for me to feel better about Kyle winning.
He's got to win that final immunity challenge and choose to take Joe, to me, to feel like that's solid. If Kyle wins, I'm saying.
I remember back, he was on that first journey with Kevin in the first episode, and they showed Kyle being smart. I think he was the one, it was him being patient and Kevin wasn't being patient. I forget exactly how it played out, but it was good look on Kyle. Kyle constantly will get emotional content, but it's almost like it's always overshadowed by Joe.
Well, and let's go back to that moment though. That moment where he went on that journey. He broke his thing.
Was that him or was that Kevin?
No, it was him, and he started helping Kevin. I'm pretty confident, and I can't help but wonder if that's prophetic. That in the end, he, the first episode, he's pouring into the jug to help somebody else win. Is he doing that right now?
For Joe?
Yep.
Yeah, if Joe's in a final three with Kamilla, if Joe's in a final three with Eva and Mitch, Kyle's voting for Joe. It's so clear.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle's a vote for Joe if he's on the jury, and Camilla's not there.
Correct. If Camilla's there, he votes for Kamilla.
I believe so as well. At the moment, it seems like one of those two are making the final three. I mean, their odds are high, of course. They're 2 out of the 5, so they would both need to go up 4 and 5 to obviously not make the final 3. So with Kyle, it just to me feels like if he beats Joe, it's because Joe had bad jury management. And then if Joe loses on bad jury management, I will question what the story was doing here, telling the story the way they did for Joe. Like, why did they want us to connect with him so much and love him so much?
Well, and if that's the case, I think a few people, though, have dropped little things here and there, if that is the case, for us to be able to call back upon. I think Mary specifically called out his bad jury management.
She did. And I do not expect her or David to vote for Joe.
I wouldn't either.
But everyone else, like we have heard so many times, there was a whole, lest we forget that it wasn't this week, but last week, the whole episode was got to get out Joe, just to then falter and not get out Joe when like their one chance to actually get him out, they don't get him
just
out.
To pour water into his jug, a la Kyle and Kevin.
And they voted off Mary instead because Mitch is like, I don't trust Mary enough to make this move. And it's like, what?
Well, and why is Mitch suddenly deciding that? Mitch, where did you come from?
It's not really Mitch. It was also Kyle because Kyle, Kamilla, and Mary and Mitch, it was 4 versus 3 if they wanted to make the move on Joe. And it's because of Mary's bad social gameplay was so bad, apparently, that they would rather get out Mary than go for Joe. And they're like, it's too soon. Final 7's too soon to make a move. Got to do a final 6.
Her issue, I think, was aligning with David and then them having such strong dominant opinions. I think that was Mary's downfall.
And it's also this whole Shaheen thing, too. Like, we didn't really talk about it, but Shaheen was plotting against Joe. Like, it was brought up. He did it on reward. And while the idol part is fake, and that was the part made up by Kyle, he was plotting. Kyle tells Joe votes off Shaheen. It was basically backed up on the show that Joe was in the right to vote off Shaheen because Shaheen was plotting against Joe.
Right.
Though Kyle did trick Joe into thinking that Shaheen came up with an idol. And Kamilla was in on the lie too. But I think in a final 3 that if Joe, Kyle, and Kamilla are all sitting there like this some weird situation, that's what happens. That Joe could be like, these two told me, Shaheen, that you had an idol and you were plotting against me. And Shaheen would be like, you're right. I was plotting against you. I didn't have an idol though. And I think that would make Joe look, Shaheen be like, okay, I understand why Joe voted me off and I'm not salty at him. And I'm going to, vote for Joe.
My thing with Kyle's idea about all of that, though, is if you're going to do all of that, why not take Mitch and Kamilla and Shaheen and vote Eva off? Because in the event that Eva did decide to play her idol, you've still told Joe and Eva to vote for Shaheen, essentially.
Yeah.
I just don't know why they actually went for Shaheen. To me, that's kind of a nail in Kyle's coffin, too. Shaheen, I think, would have helped.
Well, apparently it was to take a shot at Joe. They had to weaken Joe.
By taking Shaheen, who's willing to work with you? No.
Well, that's what they said. It was said. They wanted to weaken Joe. But at the same time, it's like, why didn't you just vote off Joe last week, right? Last episode. Like, what is this whole weakening strategy? You could just knock out You could just
Who
knock
are we
him out. You
weakening?
don't have to weaken him. What's this weakening thing?
It's not Joe. Just cut the head off.
That's like on Winners at War when they voted off Ethan Zahn to weaken Boston Rob. It's like, or you could just vote off Boston Rob. He didn't have an eye or anything. I remember that because I was like, what is this nonsense voting off Ethan to weaken Boston Rob? Like, get out of here.
Just get Boston Rob.
Like they're going to somehow make Boston Rob kneel before them and go, oh, almighties, I will work for you now. Like, that's not how he works.
Now that you've taken Ethan out. Yeah, no.
Yeah, now that you've taken Ethan out, I will submit to you. That sounds just like Boston Rob. All right, Kyle for me, number 2, though I am very aware that if he wins, it's because Joe had bad jury management. Like, I don't know.
Or Joe's not there.
Yeah, exactly. Joe loses. Maybe Joe loses to Kyle on Fire. And Joe's like, oh, if only Joe had reached final 3, he would have won, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's number 2 for me as well.
All right. Well, we won't be shocked if Kyle wins, but I will be shocked if the next player we're going to talk about wins, Mitch. Mitch is 44 confessionals, and it's consistently dunked on, it feels like last night. Even though Eva was doing nothing, by the way, to watch the 2 people she's supposed to watch from what we're shown, she's like,
no,
they suck. They're so boring. All they want to do is like be old people and watch TV.
And then she goes and sits by herself, doesn't watch them.
Right. About Mitch and Kamilla. I will say, though, it was the way that was cut. So we're talking about Mitch here. Is Joe has the whole thing about his sister, right? And like to the normal person who's not, I guess, so Survivor savvy, maybe cynical like myself. That was a very touching moment. And then it cuts immediately to Mitch and Kamilla being like, gotta get Joe. It's like these 2 evil, conniving people going after the guy
he's had that moment.
Correct. Right after he just had that moment. They did not have to end in that order. We could have gone back to camp after the reward to Mitch and Kamilla. They could have had that moment. Eva's like, I'm here to babysit them, and then gone to the reward and shown the letters, but they didn't. They went in the order of showing everything that makes you want to root for Joe, just to cut to Mitch and Kamilla going, ha, 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 like doing their little evil laughs like they're Disney villains or something, you know?
I love that you're pointing that out because I'm probably the target of being the casual viewer who did not think about that, and I think you're very right.
It's crazy how much love they're putting into Joe, and again, if Joe doesn't win, I will be baffled of the editing decisions. So
essentially every person we've talked about, we've also just talked about how Joe's going to win.
Well, no, it's more like, okay, because Joe is the main character despite having the second least, of the 5 people he has. 55 is not a number to sneeze at. I mean, especially, and then
it's a lot.
It's not a number to sneeze at. Though Say did get 53, by the way, in 7 episodes. Just wild.
She was entertaining. I stand by it.
I wonder if Mitch is going to beat her, and Mitch is going to make the finale. I wonder if Mitch beats her in confessionals, despite the fact that Say only made it to episode 7.
That's a sad point.
Hey, Banu was only in the show for 4 episodes, and he had more than I think Liz was going into the finale with less than Banu, and Banu had 4 episodes, if I recall.
Banu had to win 1 million hearts, Wesley. How else was he going to do it?
I will give Banu credit because of Banu and us joking on Banu. It is where I came up with the number 2 on the. I mean, we are number 2 on the charts, on the YouTube charts for the Survivor podcast, but we are the number 1 in your hearts. Definitely came from the Banu thing.
That's precious.
Yeah, that's where that whole phrase came from. Is really I got to credit to Banu. Mitch, though, I don't see a final 3 where Mitch wins. I also didn't see a final 3 where Gabler won. So if Mitch wins, we're getting Gablered. We're getting Gablered hard. Mitch wins, I will be like, what was this season we watched? Because it's really been about Eva and Joe and Kyle and Kamilla, like these duos. And here's Mitch, like the only one not in a duo. And if he wins, like that's wild.
I could very much see Mitch being a GOAT to the end. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he is in the final 3, but he will not get a single vote.
I think he's getting dragged. Yeah. Who's wasting
100%.
their number? Who's wasting the next vote on Mitch, and who's wasting final 4 fire making on Mitch? I don't foresee that.
Nobody.
I don't know why.
He's going to be there. But I mean, he hasn't won individual immunity. He has been wrong about several of the votes. He's just been utterly left out. And he's kind of been almost invisible for the latter half, like post-merge, outside of when he's saying he needs to make a move and then doesn't make a move.
Yeah, Mitch is, if he wins, color me surprised. When I make the winner video for Mitch, I guess in this situation, I will be doing a lot of work to figure out what went wrong, what went right, I guess maybe is the better way of putting it. But yeah, I just don't foresee how Mitch wins in any final 3. Like, maybe he beats Eva. But like, okay, but then Joe, Kamilla, or Kyle has to be sitting in final three. How does he beat any of them? What?
Well, even in a scenario where he's sitting next to Eva and literally anyone else, like Eva's going to get the secondary vote. I don't think he'll get a vote. I'll be so surprised if
Joe,
he does.
So Joe can't be in the final three. He can't beat Joe.
I wonder who would vote for him. I mean, maybe Chrissy could throw a random vote for him. I don't know. I don't even remember. Did they connect?
What if Mitch sits next to Joe and Eva and
wins?
Everyone on Siva votes for Mitch. That's like what? Chrissy, Kyle, Kamilla. That's 3 votes right there. I don't think there's anyone else in Siva who's on the jury. Let me check the jury real quick. Cedric's on the jury, and he's a real wild card, let me tell you. Who is Cedric voting for?
It could be Cedric. Who knows? Who is Cedric going to vote
Cedric,
for?
I don't know who Cedric's connected to or who he's voting for. You got Chrissy, you have David, you have Star. Also, Star, by the way, to me feels like a guaranteed vote for a Loggy. Like, Star was just chilling and stuff. Like, she didn't seem like she was too salty about anything.
Star was also entertaining to me. I'm with you though. I mean, who does Star vote? And maybe a la Gabler. That's where it's like, I don't know who these people are going to vote for. I can guarantee Kamilla votes for Kyle and vice versa, Joe and Eva vice versa, and that's it.
If Joe beats Eva in Final Four firemaking, Eva votes for Joe, that's 1. Shaheen votes for Joe, that's 2. Star votes for Joe, that's 3. Remember, he only needs 4 or 5 votes, and that's 3 I can say are off the bat I think he's getting. He's probably not getting David or Mary. Will he get Chrissy? I don't know. I don't know if Chrissy necessarily loves Kyle or Kamilla. Like, I really don't. I remember her being frustrated that people weren't playing the... Exactly. And Cedric's a wild card. Cedric could vote for Joe. Why not? Like, why not? Like, so that's 4 right there. But that's under the assumption that, like, Eva's on the jury. If Mitch is on the jury, who's Mitch vote for? I assume Kyle or Kamilla.
I don't know. With Mitch, that's the thing. I think there's so many people where I'm like, for me personally, I'm not sure who you're going to vote for outside of those duos I just named. I could see, I guess it really depends on the final 3.
He could vote for Eva if he feels like, oh, Eva, you're also somebody who has who's very open about their disability, and I have an open disability, and I relate to that. That's very possible. Not impossible.
I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know where Mitch. I just don't think Mitch is going to be a juror. I think I feel like everyone's dragging him to the final 3. But I'm like sitting here saying that I think Shaheen, Star, and Star votes for Joe. Cedric is a wild card. Chrissy is a wild card. David and Mary are just not going to vote Joe.
Yeah, as long as it's not Joe.
But like, who are we? I'm not sitting here saying any people are voting Mitch, though. I guess is our point with Mitch. Like, who's voting Mitch?
I would be surprised if he got one.
Okay,
I'm telling you, 7-1-0, nothing Mitch.
The wild scenario where it's Joe, Eva, and Mitch in the final 3. Then you have Chrissy, David, Kyle, Kamilla are all Sivas, and they vote for Mitch. Hello, that's 4 out of 8.
That's the way.
And then the vote somehow accidentally gets split between Eva and Joe, and Mitch wins like 4-3-1 or something like that. Oh,
see,
man.
and you say I'm the one who brings chaos. What is that, Wesley? But that seems like a possibility this season. A small one.
Ever since I got Gabler, I'm on my toes, man. I'm like I'm never like 100%. Like, I'll make, as I said, I've made thumbnails, but like even then I wasn't like 100%. But I just don't like Mitch winning would just blow me away. I would laugh so hard.
Alec Gabler, you know.
Hey, well, that is all we have for the final 5 winner analysis. Madison, do you have anything else?
I don't. Thanks for having me.
Well, Madison, thank you for being with us. Just to let everybody know that if you'd like to listen to our new era rankings video, that will be on Patreon. If you're listening to this, it's already on Patreon. But just throwing that out there. It'll be on Patreon well before it's on YouTube. But we want to thank you all for listening. And hey, we'll see you all next season for winner analysis. Bye.